We have updates to EURUSD, we have updates to Gold Surge. If you are new, Gold Surge, EURUSD are all EAs that are created either fully or in part by myself. They are available on Patreon or on mql5.com. I'm just going to discuss the latest updates that came out a couple of days ago. In front of me, I have EURUSD. It's not going to display all of the other inputs because the market is closed. So it's just going to tell us the EA name, but there's a whole bunch of other information that is displayed once the market is open. This is the version for MQL5. The only difference is there is no email login information in this here, but this is the MQL5 version. The reason I'm not going to be looking at the Patreon version is because I use my actual email address to sign in and I don't want to leak my private email address. So we are going to be looking at the MQL5 version. Version 2.4, we've got a couple of changes that has been made. EURUSD can be applied to any currency pair, which is true. We can add it now to any currency pair. Personally, I'm just going to stick to EURUSD. I am running some optimizations for different currency pairs, but as soon as the optimizations don't give me at least 100% return in 12 months, that is basically when I scrap them. There are backtests that look decent with other currency pairs, but not all of them are worth it, because when we look at 100%, we then need to consider real life factors that will make it even less. So we're not always going to, even if the backtest says we make 20 million, we're not going to make 20 million. We need to think realistically about this. Everything still works perfectly well as normal, but can now be added to different currency pairs if you want to do so. We have the different strategy that has been introduced as well. So we have the pullback and the breakout strategy. The current look back period is 50 candles. 50 candles are roughly around this area here from the current price. So it would have started to buy over here. But what makes this quite interesting, it would look at this as a high and then this would be considered a low, but it has a buffer zone. So it creates a little zone where price either needs to break higher, then it will place a buy trade, or if it breaks back lower, it will then place a pullback trade, so a sell trade at this high level here, and the same will apply for the lows. If it breaks back this way, it'll open a buy trade, and if it breaks lower within that zone, it will open a sell trade and respect the look back period. You can change that. I will have sets available for that as well. I found a decent setup for, it's not EURUSD, it's a different currency pair. While I was working on this current logic, that is what basically created Gold Surge. But you can't take this exact strategy and put it on gold. I don't think it does very well, but we might find a set for it. But EURUSD is from the ground up built for EURUSD. There might be by chance that we find something really good, maybe on a 15-minute time frame or on a 30-minute time frame that works amazingly well for, I don't know, any other currency pair. But it's been built from the ground up for that. We have trailing stop as well and the break even stop. Here we have the trailing stop. On default, it's going to be off. We have trailing stop or break even stop. If we click on break even stop, if the price moves in your direction for 200 points, which is 20 pips, it will then move the stop loss to break even. So that if price goes against you, the trade will just stop out at break even. However, with the backtesting, it doesn't do as well because the trades are closed prematurely. They might go down in a negative for some time and then shoot up in the direction that you need it to, and then eventually does take profit, whereas this stops the trade out prematurely. So just keep that in mind with break even stop or trailing stop. It sounds amazing on paper, but in practice, it doesn't always work. A trailing stop just trails the price, for example, 200 pips. If price does have a 20 pip pullback, it will close a trade. The trailing stop might work a lot better with the pullback breakout strategy as opposed to the indicator strategy. Also, the pullback breakout, if you want just purely pullback breakout, you have to disable all of these. So all of these need to be set to false because it does respect the indicators. At the current moment, running the pullback breakout, it will just be a purely pullback breakout strategy. It's not using any indicators to assist in the trade decisions. Adding some, either a moving average, you have to reduce the amount of indicators that you use, and this all takes testing. It takes a huge amount of time, because even if we, for example, say, let's try it with the moving average, now we've got to figure out what is our moving average period. Or if we use a bit more of a complex indicator such as the MACD, which is also a bit of a trend sort of indicator, we'll go there, we'll say MACD, and now we have these three inputs that needs to act as a variable. So really a lot of possibilities with EURUSD. I am still running it on the default settings, which you just click on reset and it will reset everything back to default. I think it's the safe method of running it, but if you want to experiment, you can. I do testing, but eventually I just get tired of testing because the results are frustrating from time to time. So it's not something that I can endorse and say, hey, guys, this is a new set file, use it, right? Because I don't want you guys to lose money at the same time. We now have the ability to change our trade direction to either only take long trades or short trades. This is only a demo account. I do have the actual trading on a different account from the EA, but this is actually a really good setup at the moment. But if it reaches this area and this area becomes contested and it wants to buy all of a sudden, I would probably ignore that buy trade and just sit on the buys that are profitable at the moment, because we can have an inevitable pullback. I would watch it once it reaches this level, and even if it gets, I don't know, like 5 or 10 pips from take profit, I would just close them. And I wouldn't take a buy at a really high position, especially if the market has been moving this way for quite some time. We had a false little pullback, so like little head and shoulders sort of situation going on. So I thought it's going to pull back and hit our stop loss. All of these have been moved to break even. I thought, okay, in this case, I would want them to break even, because if we start trending downwards, and the EA has been on a losing streak for a while, small gains here and there, but the overall trend has been somewhat down. So yeah, that is where you can, for example, at this point you say, okay, I'm not feeling comfortable with taking any buys, so we're just going to change this to sell. So anything from that point onwards is only going to be sell, and then basically wait for the sells to start piling up. And when the market starts moving in your direction, then you start looking at the 4 hourly and you start looking for your trends, because even though the general trend here would be up, there were potential sell positions that could have been taken at this level. It doesn't mean everything that I do is correct. It isn't. I make the same mistakes that you do. So it's the way to mitigate your risk. If you feel that the market has consolidated long enough and it is in a decision-making zone, so it potentially can go up or down, you can set it back to both or change it back to buy only, or whatever your decisions may be. So that gives you a lot more flexibility. If this is managed correctly, this could be massive. I might even work on an indicator to put on the chart visually to help you make that decision. You can visually see and realize that there might be a trend reversal. If you bought somewhere here, right, anywhere here, overall, you would be sitting on some money. That's why we have buys down here, we have buys over here. So yeah, that is the update for EURUSD. If there is anything that I've missed, or if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message if you need some clarity on some things. Before we proceed, I have a few more Patreon members that I have to thank. We have Band Airship. We have Osran. We have Mitul. We have Moises. And we have Jason. Thank you everyone for the support. Let's get back into today's video. Alright, so we have a lot of subtle changes here. First of all, I have removed the daily stop loss, the max daily drawdown input. We still have the max drawdown, which is useful if you want to mitigate your risk. The daily is a bit more of a complex logic that needs to be applied because it needs to reset daily. It needs to remember the account balance and then reset the account balance on particular intervals. It's a lot of logic and understanding and complications for a not frequently used input. So just use this. Even when using a prop firm, just set this to 4%. It's going to do a solid job at protecting your account. It's going to stop it out. The previous version of Gold Surge had an annoying thing. So it would make a bit of money, but it wouldn't close the trade out soon enough. So basically it would close the trade, but most of the time in a negative. And I couldn't figure out what's going on because we have the maximum spread filter. But what I've done was we have added, so this is the trailing stop that it still uses, but I have added a offset. So this offset basically it forces it to go a little slightly in profit before trying to close a trade. That would compensate for your commission on each trade. And then we have a breakout buffer. I did add this to a signal on MQL5 yesterday. I went against my better judgment and well, it's just a $100 account. So I've added this to that just as a reference. I'm not going to do that with EURUSD because it needs a higher investment. For example, you need more than $100 in your account. My current account where EURUSD is running, it's not only EURUSD running, so those results are going to be disingenuous, and I also step in every now and then. So it's not going to be 100% algo trading. People might look at the results and say, yeah, but it's not 100% the EA, which is true. Gold Surge, for example, is 100% the EA, but not EURUSD. EURUSD does take a bit more thought and understanding in the trends and what the market is doing. So we do have a breakout buffer. Let's say this was our breakout zone. Now, without the buffer, at this little peak, right? So we have our level that has been created here that the EA will respect. And over here, we just have it sneak past and then pull right back. So the EA would have wanted to buy over here and then it pulled right back. So you would have ended this trade in a loss. Now to prevent that, I have added the buffer. So now the buffer zone will be 10 points, but you can change it to 15 points. You can change it to 20, whatever you feel is better for you. You can test it, you can back test it, you can do whatever you like to account for those little false breakouts. This would have been a very good area to buy and just ride this wave, which it has done. Those are really the only changes with Gold Surge. This is the FTMO account I used a while back. You can see our account is 7% down from where it started. I was quite pleased because we were climbing up quite a bit and then just gradually went down. When I realized we have a problem, so I added a whole bunch of other currency pairs and tested to see what is doing better, what isn't doing better, but it wasn't doing well. The main reason for that is long term is our spread. This is the market rollover price. So that's why the spread is at 37, but generally it floats around 20, and 20 is the maximum spread that should be allowed. So for example, even here at 10 points, it hardly ever takes a trade. The account has just been going backwards. But there might be a workaround now with the latest fix with the buffer. I haven't tested it since then. I just left it, forgot about it. I don't even think this account works because I think the free trial is only for 2 weeks. I'll have to make an update regarding that. This is the account I started yesterday and it is using the latest Gold Surge that is currently available for you guys. I put in $100, done a bit of testing, and I thought $100 will be fine, will be safe. I've linked it here, so I'm going to have it linked in the description. This is just literally one day. We can look at the trading history over here. These are our trades. It does a lot better at trying to compensate for the commission. It's still not doing it perfectly, but once you set your buffer too high, it starts becoming almost unrealistic gains. It basically canceled out the loss completely. We'll see how it does over time, because we had it start at 9:25 p.m., which is last night for me. It ran until this time, which I think is when the market closed, or at 12, so midnight for me, which is more than likely. This is the results. I'm going to have it available for everyone. This is a public signal, MQL5. So that is what I use for a lot of my accounts, just to log in and see what was my drawdown, what's my max drawdown, and all of that. This is going to increase over time. However, the profit should increase over time as well. We've got two directions that our trading can take, but I do have confidence in the latest update. That's why I thought of doing this. It's something I'm just going to set and forget. If anybody goes onto MQL5 and wants to grab a hold of this, they can go and verify from a live account that it is in fact making money. I don't like doing that because you kind of put yourself on the spot. But in this case, I thought, let's just do it. I'm not going to do it for EURUSD. If I do, I'm going to have to disclose, because you can see here, for example, is 100% algo trading. But if I close something manually or do some adjustments, this is no longer going to be 100%. And then people criticize you on that and say, well, it's technically not the EA making all of the money. That's why I'm probably not going to do that for EURUSD. I do track my accounts, but I'm not going to have it public. Although you can't add new private accounts, MQL5 has stopped that. So unless you have a private account, you can't add to that. This is going to be up there for you to look at and see how it performs. This is one day, so don't expect solid results for at least a month. I wouldn't recommend copying. Everything is $30 minimum. If you follow the signal, it's probably not going to end well, because the latency between when my account opens the trades and your account is supposed to do that as well, it's probably going to be closed for me already. So yeah, I'm not gonna recommend copying this. And I mean, for $30, you might as well get it on Patreon. At the higher tier I have introduced, so it's $20. This still has 11 spots. Once it's filled, it's filled. If you want to use the EAs and stuff, you got to pay $20 a month. This is still available, so anybody who wants to join, there's 11 spots for that. We're currently sitting at 19 members. Once we have these spots filled, there's just not going to be anyone. I don't think you will be able to join here. So I don't know what happens when that happens. Then you have to join for $20 a month, and then you get access to all of the EAs. Like I said, with the EURUSD, I might just add a visual indicator, something that's just more a trend sort of oriented thing, just to help you with that. I don't want to automate that process, because I do feel with EURUSD, it does benefit from you just keeping your hands on that. To all of the Patreon members out there, thank you for all of your support. Let's keep this stuff going. Let's keep it growing. And I'll make sure to make it worth your while, make it worth your time, make it worth every penny you spend. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next video.